Billions of dollars in federal funding from a bipartisan infrastructure law have made their way to the Sunshine State. I went one-on-one with Secretary Pete Buttigieg to talk about the importance of these funds for South Florida. Secretary Buttigieg, thank you so much for joining us once again here on NBC6.
Thank you. Pleasure to be with you.
Well, it's good to see you, of course. And the last time I saw you, you were here with Mayor Daniela Levine Cava at Port Miami, talking about infrastructure and the law, and how key investments have benefited not only the port, but the airport and public transit as well.
That's right. When I was there in the area, I saw firsthand the opportunity and the need, whether we're talking about the airport, whether we're talking about Port Miami, roads, and everything in between. And even since that visit, have been able to share more good news for South Florida. Most recently, the news of a major award, more than $100 million going to the St. Lucie River Bridge, as well as more road funding that is being felt in communities all across South Florida and the region around Miami. We're going to continue working together to deliver these funds to make infrastructure better and stronger. We know that when we do, we're creating jobs, we're improving safety. It's why we work so hard in this administration and with President Biden's leadership to get this infrastructure law passed in the first place. Now we're putting those dollars to work.
And these are critical investments for a county that has seen such incredible and rapid growth. How important are these investments?
That's right. When you have the kind of growth that you're experiencing in this area, it's a good thing, of course, but it means you've got to keep up in terms of infrastructure improvement. That means you need more capacity on your roads. You need better transit and rail. You need the airports to keep up. And meanwhile, we're in a major national push on our supply chains. I think 3 or 4 years ago, people didn't really use the word supply chain much outside of specialty circles. Now it's more of a household topic because we saw how much it mattered, especially as our country was getting through COVID. Places like Port Miami are a huge part of our supply chains, and what's going on there affects you whether you have anything to do with shipping or not. Matter of fact, it affects the whole country because we count on the goods that come and go through those ports. So at a time of a lot of growth, especially in Miami-Dade, we want to make sure we're there with federal dollars to improve the infrastructure, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Speaking of federal dollars, we always refer to the law as the bipartisan infrastructure law. But at least in Florida, both senators and some South Florida representatives voted against it.
Yeah, we were disappointed that both of the senators and so many of the House GOP members in Florida voted no on this bill, but it passed anyway, and we were able to get those dollars. And as I hope that everyone can see, we are distributing those dollars based on where the need is, not based on politics. Floridians are benefiting, even if their members of Congress or the Senate stood in the way of these funds. I would also add that, we had a lot of good local support. Mayor Levine Cava was a big supporter of getting this bill done in the first place. The only thing that's unfortunate is that some of those dollars will not reach Florida communities because Governor DeSantis has decided to reject the federal funding for the carbon reduction program. That's too bad because that was going to help with things like truck parking and other important uses that the Florida DOT planned on. But there's nothing we can do. If Governor DeSantis chooses to send those dollars back to Washington, we have to accept that choice, and those dollars will go somewhere else. But again, we really believe this can and should be bipartisan work.
Is Florida the only state that rejected the funds?
As far as I know, yes. I haven't heard of another state just sending those dollars back. And it's too bad. I mean, we think that those dollars belong on the ground in communities around Miami-Dade or around the state of Florida. That's where they should be, not being sent back to Washington because of politics.
Secretary, when you were down, something the mayor is also passionate about, and I know that both of you discussed it, is the North Corridor and the expansion of the Metro Rail. Where does that stand now?
Yeah, the mayor made a very strong case for this and explained why it's so important to her and to the community. Right now, it is being considered alongside a number of applications from around the country in a process called RCN. That's about reconnecting communities and neighborhoods. I don't have any news to make about that today. It's still with staff being evaluated. It is a very competitive program, but we hope we'll be able to share news soon about this round of funding. And I know how much it matters because the mayor, again, made such a forceful and thoughtful case.
I know that there's some good news along the pike coming in the future. Is there anything that you can give us a hint on as to what's coming from the federal government for South Florida?
Can't do any sneak previews of what's coming other than to stay tuned. But let me point to some recent news that's also really encouraging. You know, in last year's round of a program called RAISE, which is one of our grant programs, we sent $5 million to help Port Miami. That's on the heels of $16 million to help Port Miami from the year before that. And then that funding for the St. Lucie Bridge. We're doing work all along I-4. So really the whole state and certainly South Florida are seeing improvements and can expect to see more in the near future.
Secretary Buttigieg, as always, it's always great to see you. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Same here. It's a treat.